Hello again, dealers and friends, and welcome to week 2 of the DealerRE webinar. This week, we're going to be covering debt cancellation coverage here on, we're going to call it DCC, and collateral protection insurance, which from henceforth we're going to call CPI. Again, we are joined with Mr. Bird today, CEO of DealerRE, and we're excited to have you all. We'd love to go through this with you and provide a little bit of education and benefit for you. So, Mr. Bird, happy Cinco de Mayo. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Taylor?
Doing awesome. Doing awesome. So, to start this off, I'd like to just dive in and have you tell us individually about debt cancellation and about CPI. So could you go ahead and just start with debt cancellation?
All right, be glad to. So let me begin by saying that we at DealerRE are in the reinsurance business. So there are products out there that you can buy for collateral protection, but they are become an expense. And even though you can talk your customers into or convince them to pay for them, they're still an expense. So with reinsurance, I just want to reiterate right off the bat that is a way to cover your collateral and also reap the underwriting profits that the insurance companies would normally reap. So start out by debt cancellation. Debt cancellation is the correct term, I guess, is voluntary debt cancellation agreement. And it's an agreement between you and the customer. And it's very similar. If you ever go to rent a car and they say, hey, do you want that insurance? Well, it's not actually insurance. That's called loss damage waiver, which is another form of debt cancellation. Loss damage waiver is used for rental cars and leases, where debt cancellation is something that is used primarily by us with buy here, pay here and finance companies. Now, let me point out that if you were to look up debt cancellation, every state has a little bit different take on that. Most of them are going to akin it mostly to GAAP, because it is where GAAP is a deficiency balance waiver. Debt cancellation is also a waiver, okay? And it's an agreement between you and the customer where, just in layman's terms, you would say, okay, customer, if you will pay me X number of dollars a month, in the event that you have a total loss, I will forgive all of your debt, okay? So, and debt cancellation it can be sold at time of sale. It is not a force-placed product. It is a time of sale product, and it does not include liability insurance. So the customer is going to need to follow the state regulations and obtain liability insurance. However, their liability insurance in most states is between them and the state that they are in. It is, and you know, we spend tons of time in the car business in collections, trying to keep up with insurance. Well, when you go to buy insurance, you buy comp, collision, and liability. That's what it comes with, okay? You can't get comp and collision by itself, but you can get liability by itself. However, when a customer buys debt cancellation coverage, they are buying a product that is only between you and them, and it is to satisfy your requirement that they have collateral protection. Because if they experience a total loss, if they don't have collateral protection of some sort, whether it's insurance or debt or a waiver or whatever, then what usually happens is that they can't afford the loss, and so you end up eating the loss.
All right, great. Debt cancellation being a waiver, the other product that we want to talk about for collateral protection is actually called collateral protection insurance. Could you tell us a little bit about collateral protection insurance?
Right. Collateral protection insurance is actual insurance. And And something that's important to point out, CPI is not the customer's insurance. So let me give you an example of the difference between car insurance and CPI. Car insurance, if the customer wrecks the car, the insurance is their insurance. It is now you were listed as a loss payee, okay? So that to cover the balance that they owe you, or not necessarily the balance, but what they owe you. And as we all know, the insurance company is going to make the determination about how much that's worth, right? And that's where GAAP comes in to try to cover that. But CPI is actually the lender's insurance. So what the law is allowing you to do in each state is they're saying, okay, the customer did not meet their obligation to provide insurance or collateral protection on this car. So we're going to force place that insurance on there. So the dealer or the finance company rather is going to buy that insurance, and then the law allows them to charge the customer for that. Now the customer could bring them insurance from an outside carrier, or they could agree to pay the CPI. But the thing is CPI is not going to cover more than the car is worth. So give you an example, or it's not going to cover more than what they owe. Okay. So the example is if you had somebody that had a car that was worth $5,000 and they only owed $4,000, and that was the ACV, and that's what the insurance company agreed to pay, then there'd actually be a $1,000 benefit left over after insurance paid. Well, CPI is only covering your collateral. It's the lender's collateral. So that collateral is being covered by the CPI policies for the lender, and that allows for the lender to not experience the loss that they would if they didn't have that placed on there.
Okay, great. So to summarize that, I think what I heard you say is that in the case that the customer has positive equity in their car and they have CPI, they're not going to get a check for their positive equity like they would get if they had comp and collision with somebody else. Is that right?
That's correct. Now, I want to point out that there's a couple of things between debt cancellation and CPI that really need to be put out there, and so that you understand. In most states, CPI cannot be done at time of sale, okay, where debt cancellation can. CPI is insurance. Debt cancellation is a waiver. It is insured, but it is not an insurance product. Debt cancellation only covers a total loss, period, okay? In most states, we have a $500 deductible. Some states, like Texas, there is no deductible. And the way that things are, the pricing is configured is, of course, left up to the governing body of the state. They're going to let us know how we can charge for that, okay? In other words, many states, it is laid out as a monthly recurring payment. In other states, it has to be part of the finance contract. So, whereas, and let me point out one other thing, if there is any consequential damage, just that they had a fender bender, that is not covered under debt cancellation, okay? Under CPI, CPI does provide not only to pay the what the actual cash value of the vehicle is towards the debt owed by the customer, but if they were to have a fender bender, then it would provide some coverage for that as well. So that sounds like maybe a better deal, but however, there are different positive and negative points to each side. So debt cancellation only covers total loss. However, it is a lot less expensive and it can be done at time of sale. CPI is more expensive, and but it does cover the consequential damage, and it's actually insurance. So, that's something that when you call in and you meet with us over the phone, we will help you figure out what's best for you. What is the best course of action? And believe it or not, you can do both. Now, you can't do both on the same loan, but you can do both in your business model. You may have a situation where debt cancellation for a particular customer is the best way to go. And then you have a book of business out there that you got insurance is being lapsed on, and you can place CPI on that. So there is a place for both.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. $4,000 car, typically if it's in an accident, most of the time it's probably going to be totaled, whereas an $8,000 car are going to have many more minor accidents that aren't totaled that DCC might not.
Something that's important to point out, though, Taylor, is that either way, whether you're doing debt cancellation or CPI, you have more control over the situation. Dealers, we all know that it is a pain in the neck to file an insurance claim nowadays. And if the owner of the car, your customer, happened to let their brother drive the car and he wrecked it, well, you're up a creek, okay? They're not going to pay anything. And nowadays we have this only buy what you need insurance, which means that if it's not the most perfect, all the planets aligned kind of accident that you have, it's not going to pay anything. We have a dealer in South Carolina that, if you go on our website, you can see her talking about this, but she's talking about how before they had debt cancellation, it would take 40 man hours to complete an insurance claim and that's ridiculous. So when you set up your own reinsurance company and you're providing collateral protection, whether it's debt cancellation or CPI, you have so much more control, because when there's an accident, if there is a problem, you know what the outcome's going to be. You're going to make that call on that outcome. You don't have to wait to find out what the insurance company's going to do, and you can get your customer in a car right away. If your customer wrecks their car, they have insurance, and you sit around for 4 weeks trying to figure out what's going to happen. In the meantime, the customer leaves you. So not only are you many times left with the damaged car and that loss by the finance company, the dealership, or whatever, but your customer went down the road to some other buy here, pay here dealer and got another car, because they can't sit around and wait for this to happen. So, and what if they owe you money? Okay. If they owe you, if there is a deficiency and you don't have gap in place, what happens is you either pay it out of pocket, okay, or the customer owes you money, and they're just gonna, they're going to, it's cheaper for them to go down the road and get another car from another dealer instead of trying to get straight with you. So, and it's so prohibitive for you to go chasing them down through the courts, especially nowadays. I mean, the courts aren't even open. What are you going to do? Yep. So why not put a system in place where you got the control over things, that when that car is damaged, you already know what the outcome's going to be because you own the insurance company.
That's a great point. Let's, I have a couple things, and I'm going to get them out here so that I don't forget about them. We talked about this last week. Which product, which debt cancellation or CPI could GAP pair with? 1. 2, if a customer does have a total loss with debt cancellation or CPI, what happens to the car? So those my 2 questions.
Okay. So if you are force placing CPI, you're going to, when you originate the loan, all right, sell the customer gap. Well, I mean, the thing is, that's a no-brainer, because as we pointed out in last week's program, if you don't sell them gap and at least collect that premium, you're going to end up forgiving their debt anyway. Most of you just turn turn your head and pinch your nose and go on. Right, because it's the best way to keep that customer. We're in the payment producing business, okay? We have to have that cash flow of payments coming in. And so if you have anything that disrupts that, then it's a detriment to the business. We want to keep them going. So if you at time of sale, if you're not doing debt cancellation, if you're doing debt cancellation, you don't sell them gap because you're doing debt cancellation at time of sale. If you are going to force place CPI, you're going to sell gap up front anyway, so it doesn't matter which way they go. They can, if they keep their full coverage insurance, you're protected because they bought gap. If they end up with CPI, you're still protected because they bought gap. So a gap is, you should be putting either debt cancellation or gap on every single finance contract, retail installment contract that you do. Because if you don't, you're going to just be giving them free gap.
Right. Okay. The second question, thank you for that. Second question, if a customer is in a total loss with debt cancellation or CPI, previously, if they had insurance through State Farm or whoever, then State Farm would take the car. Who gets the car in the case that they have debt cancellation or CPI with the dealer?
All right, so keep this in mind that, and I know that you guys see this all the time, there's a lot of total losses out there. Why would they total the car so quickly? It's because they do take possession of the car, okay? And when they take possession of that car, they're probably salvaging it. You, the dealer, under either debt cancellation or CPI, you would maintain that vehicle and in your possession is what I'm saying. And then you could part it out or you could salvage it, which would, of course, help you to overcome some of your loss, okay? So it's very important to point out that we get caught a lot of times in a situation with insurance companies out here that even if they cover it, two things. One, they're not going to pay off the loan, okay? And two, they're going to take possession of the car. So I want y'all to understand something. You are taking a lot of hits out there for total losses, no matter what happens, whether they have insurance or not. The thing that you're not doing is you're not collecting the premiums. You know those big buildings in the city, those really big buildings, they all have insurance company names on them because insurance is a very lucrative business, okay? So why not set up your own insurance company that we help you by managing it for you and having an insurance company to stand in front of you, okay, to protect you, to make it admin obligor, which means the contract is between that big insurance company and the customer, not you and the customer. And so they take on the contingent liability, okay? And what happens is when you have a loss well, first of all, you're collecting premium from everybody. It's like your book of business. Isn't that what you're doing? You're collecting a payment from everybody, which is like stacking firewood, okay? And you're just stacking all this up. And the bigger your book of business is, the more money that you have coming in, which means a greater cash flow. So all you're doing by this is setting up your own insurance company, collecting the premiums, stacking it up like firewood, taking care of the problems that arise, and what is left over becomes your underwriting profit. Not your dealership's underwriting profit, not your finance company's underwriting profit, but your underwriting profit.
Right. Absolutely. One thing I would like to point out, because dealers probably in their heads right now thinking, oh, there's a lot of risk in paying off these total losses. And correct me if I'm wrong, but debt cancellation and CPI only need to pay when their customer is at fault in the accident. So, example, if the customer is at fault in an accident with another vehicle and they're at fault, the dealer's DCC or CPI will be paying to fix, or in the case of CPI, or if it's totaled, then it will pay off the loan. In some cases not, for the customer's account in order to cover their collateral. However, if the customer was in an accident with another vehicle and the other driver was at fault, that other driver's liability insurance is going to pay the dealer for their car. So
that's right.
So half of the time,
on
average.
Yeah. So we have dealers that go, oh man, we had 15 total losses last year. I don't think we would have collected enough premium. Well, the thing is that all 15 of those were not your customer's fault. Okay. Right. So the liability insurance of the other driver would pay those claims. And so you're not taking on all that debt, the other, all that risk. So the other part of this is that you're also, if you don't do what we're advising you to do, you're not collecting that premium either. Wouldn't you like to collect the premium instead of the insurance company? Because, right now you're probably paying some person to sit in your office every day and make collection calls on behalf of the insurance company just to cover your butt. You're not getting any monetary benefit from that, but the insurance company sure appreciates the fact that you're making sure that their customers pay. Okay, why are you doing that when you can have that premium come in and your regular collection team is looking out for that anyway? They're looking out for the payment, and they're looking out for that to make sure that happens. And the other part of that is that you will know the second they don't pay, instead of finding out 10 days after they had a wreck when you got the lapse letter in, and you realize that not only have they total lost the car, but they let their insurance lapse as well. So that kind of problem can't happen because you're staying on top of it through your regular collection to make sure that they're making their premium payment.
All right. I don't think that I have any more questions. Do you have any other points that you'd like to point out before we close?
No, I just I think that in this time that we're in, it's important, and even in regular business time, okay, folks, you got to do things that you hear, what do smart dealers do? Okay, this is what smart dealers do. They set up their own insurance company through reinsurance. They set up admin obligor insurance companies so that they are not in a situation where they're put at risk because it's not set up right. But they're doing this and they're collecting those premiums. They're creating a fantastic capital resource. And so why in the world wouldn't you do that? You can do that with warranties. You can do that with service contracts, GAP, CPI, debt cancellation. There's so many different things that you can do that will add value to what you're doing, cover the problems that you're having. Your cars are going to break. So why not have a system in place to take care of that, where all the customers are feeding in to make sure that when that happens, that it's taken care of, and not do it with a third-party company either. Now, there are many of you out there buying service contracts and putting on your cars from third-party warranty companies. Well, if you have a contract and you spend $1,000 for it, for instance, and you send that off, and there are $250 in claims, $750 in claims, whatever on average, you still paid $1,000 no matter what the claim loss ratio is with a third-party company. So you had 100% loss ratio. Whereas if you set up a company and you doing your warranties through your reinsurance company or service contracts through your reinsurance company, then whatever is not used to pay claims becomes underwriting profit for you. Now, doesn't that make sense? Why in the world would you want to do it any other way?
It does. That is a great lead in. I appreciate you leading into our webinar for next week. You can join us on Tuesday at 3 p.m. next week, where we will discuss warranties and service contracts. We might even tap into certified warranties and how that might benefit you. So we look forward to having you again next week. If you have any questions about debt cancellation or CPI, please give us a call at the number below, or you can send us an email to info@DealerRE.com. We will be more than happy to analyze your business with you together and give you suggestions on whether debt cancellation or CPI would make more sense for your business in particular. You can lean on our expertise in doing so, and we'd be more than happy to get you in touch with clients of ours that are doing these things across the country. So again, thank you, dealers, for tuning in today. Thank you, Mr. Bird. You got any last words?
Hey, God bless you. Keep your eyes on the cross.
All right, sounds good. Thank you all again. Happy Cinco de Mayo. You guys have a great week. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you, Taylor.